Welcome to the I Will Aim podcast. Our topic for today is opening a conversation on mental health, and my guest is Travis Lee. Growing up with mental illness from a young age, Travis faced significant struggle that were only worsened during his demanding career in law enforcement. After fighting 12-year battle with addiction, Travis found a path to recovery through holistic methods. Today, through his work as an entrepreneurship coach, public speaker, and author, he is dedicating to break the stigma around mental health and addiction in the entrepreneurial world. He is passionate about sharing his journey to support others and on their path to a lasting entrepreneurial development and developing a thriving business. Welcome, Travis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're
For
welcome. Looking
me,
forward
it's
to our conversation.
yes, I'm excited as well.
Let's start with the first question. Can you share a little bit about your journey?
Yes, absolutely. So for me, it's been, like you said, about 12 years that I struggled with mental health and addiction myself. The mental health side of it, I struggled with from a very young age, and there wasn't enough conversation around it to actually be able to address it. When I got into the world of entrepreneurship, I found that there was even less support, let alone for building a business, but for addressing the challenges that come up in mental health as you build a business and get into trying to reach people on a different level. And I found it to be my passion to help other entrepreneurs not go through the same thing that I went through.
Can you share the pivotal moment that led you to say, I want to do this? I want to make a difference. What's that pivotal moment of your life that made you, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Certainly, for me, that pivotal moment was um, after being hospitalized and having to go through the uh, effects of my addiction and mental illness, uh, realizing that there was a message that needed to be told, and that if I'm still here fighting this fight, someone else is doing the same thing, and I needed to make it a point to give back and make sure that someone else didn't have to struggle just because I did. Because I know there's other people out there who have gone through the same thing that just didn't have someone else to connect to.
Thank you for sharing your passion and how selfless you are in wanting to help other people. My next question is, can we discuss a bit of the common misconception on mental health? Can we just delve into that topic a little bit because there's a lot of misconception about it.
Yes. So a big misconception is that when someone is struggling, that there's going to be visible signs, or there are signs that are obvious for oneself that that you're struggling, when in reality there's no sign, there's no big cloud in the sky that is an indicator of your struggles. A lot of the times we don't realize it until it's too late, especially in the world of entrepreneurship, where we're just trained to go, go, go and evaluate later. And a lot of the times later is too far past the point. And it's really difficult sometimes to articulate to everyday people when you're an entrepreneur what it's like to embody that mindset, because it really is a lifestyle. And a lot of people see luxury and they see success when they
Yeah.
think of an entrepreneur. So a lot of it is just the fact that there's so many challenges that are added on when we become entrepreneurs. There's a new set of challenges that don't leave behind our old ones. So we're just stacking things on top of each other, and we have to deal with them just the same as anyone else.
Yeah, thank you for kind of highlighting that an entrepreneur is not any different than a regular person. An entrepreneur is also a human being and they go through the same challenges that everyone goes through. Can we talk about a little bit like, are there any effective strategies that you could recommend to help people who know someone dealing and managing stress and anxiety?
Yes. So a big part of it is just allowing that person to be who they are, because those mental health challenges don't define them as a person. And a big part of that is just allowing them to have a comfortable space to talk about it. It's not something that needs to be pressured or forced out of someone. And it can be very challenging to really effectively deal with these things. And so, for entrepreneurs especially, it can be really important to just take some time aside and journal it, or record a video or record audio of just what you're feeling in that moment, and just sitting with it, addressing it. And sometimes you have to put it to the side so that you can actually continue to move the needle forward and build your business, because challenges aren't going to go away. There's always going to be obstacles, but you have to have a way to release that negative energy and be able to go on. And a big part of that is just finding someone that you trust to vent to, not to complain, not to seek sympathy, but just to have someone understand and hear what you're saying. That's a big part of communication in general, is just being able to hear what the other person is saying. Even if you don't fully understand it, it's so important to have that other person not have a voice, just listen.
Thank you for sharing the concept of journaling because often it's not something that we thought that could be used with mental health. But I really love that you actually pointed it out, that encapsulating your thoughts on a journal and being able to sort of like step away a little bit from it, step away from it, and being able to come back and not so much work with it, but deal with it maybe at a later time, not immediately. My next question is, how do you approach someone who is resistant in seeking mental health help?
That's actually a really common obstacle to deal with. There's often a barrier between the solution and where someone is at that current time. And a big part of it is fear. A lot of times, someone is dealing with trauma from having communicated and being judged, or having their feelings invalidated by a professional or even someone very close to them. And so many times you have to just let that person evaluate themselves, ask the right questions, to have someone open it up in their mind and really evaluate what it is going on, what's causing these emotions, and allow them to voice them in their own words. Maybe they write it down, just like journaling, but now there's an outside perspective to unpack those further and really get to the bottom of what's happening there. And it takes patience. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that, it's just something that you have to give that person space, and it can't be forced. And no family members or friends can pull that out of that person. They have to be ready. And that's a big part of it. A lot of the times as coaches, we can pull someone out of a space that they're not ready to come out of, and it can cause even more damage and trauma to their current circumstance.
Well, thank you for stressing the fact on giving them the space, right, and not forcing the issue. And I think that's immensely powerful message that the audience need to hear. Thank you for highlighting that. In your experience, how have the public attitude toward mental health changed over the past couple of years? And also, as a mental health coach, how have you shifted the needle in the right direction?
As far as the public goes, There's definitely been a lot more conversations around mental health and addressing it so that we're not making the same mistakes as before and leaving people out of conversations that really need the help from professionals and really need the support from family and friends as well. Over the last several years, I think it's been more commonplace to utilize the language that's not so clinical and making it a regular conversation to just talk about how we're feeling. And even in workplaces, there's been more of an effort to change the way that we address mental health and mental well being because the happier someone is, the better they're going to perform and the better they're going to be able to live up to their full potential without feeling like they're drowning or feeling like they have to live up to some expectation that's not realistic. They can just be themselves. And for me personally, I have definitely gained more awareness of where people are at. And I've learned to take the time to really listen to what people want, not necessarily for me to coach them, but to really understand where people are coming from and how their circumstances are affecting them. And that in turn affecting their performance in their careers and in their business ventures.
It's amazing how giving people space and also focusing on listening more, right, helps shift the needle. And the other part I think I like is the conversation that are not happening before that are now happening, right? So people are more open to the topic than it was before, in my opinion. More people have raised the fact that they're going through some mental health challenges and they're feeling, I would say, there's psychological safety that they're able to say, I'm not in good place today. I need some time off. But in the past, you don't hear that. And to me, I think, from my perspective, I think there's a shift. I think there's a shift in terms of acknowledging and embracing and understanding and the empathy toward it, right? Being able to be there and listen to people. So I think thank you for the role that you played in actually moving the needle in the right direction. Next question I have: can you share a particular rewarding experience in your practice and illustrate the impact of how you help people? Can you share a personal story? Not maybe name the name of the client because as a coach we couldn't, right? But as a particular scenario situation.
Yes. So for me, actually my most memorable moment in really fostering that change was my very first client because that harbored a lot of mental barriers for me, thinking about, am I worthy enough to coach this client? Am I experienced enough? When the question wasn't really in the experience, it was just getting it done and really opening up myself as a coach and being vulnerable with that individual allowed me to really see what the impact was on these conversations and how important it is to pursue this work. And it allowed me to understand on a deeper level what that mindset is like for someone else because I can only speak from my own experience up until then. And so to really unpack someone else's struggles and their circumstances to see what's actually going on in this industry, it was such a game changer for me because it made me realize how important it actually is to reach out a hand and help someone. And seeing that person actually gain clarity about what they're struggling with and be able to put words to those feelings, it was such a powerful moment because it made me realize that there's so many other people that need this. And it solidified that I'm doing the right thing because in my head, I had gone through so many phases of, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right decision? And that really put into place action for me because I knew I couldn't stop there.
Well, thank you for sharing that powerful personal story and how it also motivates you to continue to do what you're doing. We've been talking a lot about mental health. You shared about a couple of strategies how to cope with it. We talk about the how society have shifted the needle in accepting mental health, right? If there's three takeaway from this episode, what would those three takeaway be in your mind?
Look, the biggest takeaway for me would be to allow people the space to get comfortable with communicating. And that goes on both sides. Really learning how to listen and be an open ear for someone to just be who they are in their current state with all of their challenges, because that's what makes them unique. And that's what adds value to what they do. Um, Secondly, I would say that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have bad days, and it's okay to just sit in those feelings for a second and understand them. But it's never okay to stay in those feelings and let them overtake your life. It's important to just move through them in any way possible, whether that's seeking help or self evaluating and figuring out a game plan. But either way, move the needle forward somehow every single day. And finally, it's important to just be who you are and allow yourself the grace to just make mistakes. Feel bad one day, feel good the next, but always just give yourself that space to be confidently yourself without judging, because we are our worst critics. But that can change
Mhm.
with positive self talk and honoring the person that we are and where we came from instead of seeing it as a downfall.
Thank you for sharing the three takeaway. They're so powerful. Next question I have is: can you share with my audience any project that you're working on, uh, speaking engagement, and if they want to reach out to you, how do they reach out to Travis?
Yes, so I just currently published a book on this topic called Victory in Vulnerability that can be found on Amazon, and they can reach me at aspirelife.wixsite.com/home. And right now I am focusing on speaking with more people like you on podcasts and uh, booking some more public speaking engagements just so that we can get this conversation started and get people a space where they can talk about their emotions and their struggles openly.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you coming today and also your patience with dealing with my technical issue here today. But really, totally appreciate you. Thank you for coming to my podcast and sharing your gifts to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate you.